Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here in Prague. Today I am joined with Mr. Sam Vaknin. We're going to be continuing our conversation following on from the concept of dual mothership in narcissistically abusive relationships. And now we're going to move on to separation, individuation and recovery. Over to you, Mr. Vaknin.
Yeah, well, I suggest to divide it in two parts, which is a Jewish thing. We divide everything in two parts, unless we can divide it in three parts. And the first part would be a clinical overview of separation and individuation. I'm going to make it very brief, because there are two videos that I've uploaded to my channel, which are sort of introductory to what we're doing today.
Okay.
Very brief means no longer than 4 hours. And then we can discuss the practicalities of separation and individuation.
The links to Sam videos are in the more information bar below.
Right, and the titles of these videos are Deprogram the Narcissist in Your Mind and Narcissistic Abuse Recovery, First Separate, Individuate. So these are the titles of the videos on my channel, which are introductory to what we'll be doing today. How do you end up with the narcissist after a while? You have no superego. It's been hijacked. Replaced, actually, not hijacked, replaced. You have a new superego, new inner critic, new conscience. That's a narcissist. Your ego is compromised, so your access to reality is compromised, and your internal reality, and your access to external reality, and your access to internal reality. So your sense of self-worth is labile. You're entrained, so your brain is essentially controlled. You are no more in many ways. You're really no more. That's not even a metaphor. That's extremely close to reality. How can you heal? There's no healing possible under these conditions. People separate from the narcissist physically. They think they've done 50% of a job when actually they've done less than 10. You need to reinvent yourself. You need to re-emerge as a separate entity before you can heal. And there's a lot of work, people invest a lot of work in technicalities or, no contact and this and that. And they invest a lot of work in things which are important, like shadow work or inner child work and so on and so forth. No one is against that. And they use techniques like empty chair and all this is very, very useful, of course. But who is doing all these things? That's the issue. Who is doing all these things? The answer is the narcissist is doing all these things. If you separate from the narcissist physically, but you hadn't separated psychologically, all the exercises you're doing, including shadow work, it's not you. It's the narcissist is doing these exercises. The narcissist is doing this healing. The narcissist is your mind. He's not inside your mind. He is your mind. So if you don't have a mind of your own and your mind had been replaced, then someone else is doing all this. And it will have zero effect on you. So it's a bit creepy to think that you had been taken over. But there's been a hostile takeover. You need to, first of all, before you do anything, you need to be not the narcissist, to stop being the narcissist. I think this is the terrifying thing. This is what people don't grasp. That they start to work, they invest, a lot of effort in this technique and that technique, and doing this and doing that work and this work, and everything is very beneficial and so on. Regrettably, it's not you who is doing all these things.
Right.
It's someone else.
I recognize that in myself as a victim of narcissistic abuse, and I recognize it in my clients. There's a frustration and a sense in which you're doing the thing that you're supposed to do, and yet it isn't having any effect. You're taking the medicine you're supposed to take, but what you're saying is, I'm not taking the medicine. This doppelganger or tulpa is taking the medicine.
You have to resort to Victorian Gothic romance to really grasp what's going on. Everything I'm saying sounds like a hyperbole and exaggeration, but if anything, I'm underestimating the situation. The narcissist truly and really takes over critical parts of your mind and does not release them when he's gone physically. He takes them with him, these parts with him. He absconds with them. He is in your mind. It's an infestation. He's there.
And it's important to ask the question now, and I'm pretty sure I know what the answer is, but it's worth asking anyway. You're not saying this is intentional. He's not intentionally going, oh, I'll do this and this psychological technique. He has no idea. Like,
No, of course not. It's a predator, but on the other hand, it is a bit pitiable. It's a pitiable situation. All he's trying to do is to recreate a new mommy and then separate from her and become the individual, rerun or reenact the early childhood conflict with much better, favorable outcomes. He's like a madman. He's doing the same thing, hoping for different results. And you pay the price. You're paying the price.
I've never heard before today it stated in exactly these terms that there is a desire to fuse and merge, but the fuse and merge is only stage one. The ultimate desire is to separate.
Yes. Why do you think there's evaluation?
So the devaluation then, betrayal is baked into the cake.
Of course.
So I have to fuse with you.
Yes. So that I can separate from you and individuate.
And it's not necessarily that I'm trying to hurt you. It's just I have to experience individuation and there's no other way.
I need you, my intimate partner, to be my mother for a while, to allow me to heal, to allow me to heal.
Yeah.
And the only way I can heal is for you to allow me to discard you. The only way for me to heal is as distinct from my original mother. I need you to let me go. I need you to allow me to separate from you and to become an individual. Now, I become an individual negatively because all my experiences in childhood were negative. So the only way I know to become an individual is by pushing people away. And that's where there's a very strong correlation between narcissism and attachment styles.
Yeah.
Most narcissists are anxious avoidant, anxious dismissive, and so on. That's a fact, by the way. So research has demonstrated this, that these attachment styles are very prevalent among psychopaths, narcissists, and so on and so forth. Because their sense of identity critically depends on rejecting people. The only identity they have is a negative identity. They feel that they exist when they are not someone else.
Yeah.
So they need to separate and individuate. And only an intimate partner, it's a sign of love. Prove your love to me. The narcissist goes to the intimate partner and says, if you love me, let me merge and fuse with you and then break your heart. That's proof that you love me.
You said it's necessary for the narcissist to do this in order to heal, but even doing it 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, it doesn't actually heal.
It never works. It never works because the narcissist lacks the basic skills to separate and individuate.
Okay.
To start with, the narcissist doesn't have what we would call an ego. It doesn't have internal structures. There's emptiness there. It's an absence aspiring to become a presence.
Yeah.
The absence is trying to become a presence by rendering you an absence. It's an emptiness that tries to transfer itself to you. It's this strange superstition or prejudice or belief that if I'm empty inside, if I were to succeed to hand over this emptiness to you, then I will have been fulfilled. Then I will have become.
It's
then
like passing a curse on.
Kind of, yes.
Sorry to go back to the Edgar Allan
Yes,
Poe, but
yes. It's up to all these. Listen, what is literature?
Yeah.
Literature reflects the human condition.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I am empty. I feel that I don't exist. This is the overwhelming sensation of the narcissist, that he doesn't exist. That's why he goes around asking for narcissistic supply. Tell me that I exist. Tell me that I'm a genius. Tell me that I'm handsome. Tell me that tell me, because I can't vouch for it myself. I need your testimony. I need your input to recreate myself on the fly all the time, you know? Okay, so I'm empty inside. And then I meet an intimate partner, and she's full inside. There is envy. This is a critical moment, by the way. There's a lot of envy. Narcissist envies his intimate partner.
Yeah.
He says, if you really love me, that's the ultimate test. I'm going to hand over my emptiness to you. I'm going to hand over the death inside me to you. The thanatic part, the destudo. I'm dead inside. I'm going to make you dead inside. Yeah. And in return, you're going to make me come alive.
Right.
It's like Pinocchio, you know, you're going to render me existent.
A real boy.
A real boy, yes. I'm wooden.
Yeah.
And I need you to become wooden so that I can become a boy. And you could ask, why is this exchange necessary? Why not, through love, for example?
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
can't love do this? Why does a narcissist need to hollow out his partners, to render them empty and dead? Because the narcissist cannot identify love. He's incapable. He doesn't have the basic skill to grasp love, to digest love, to experience love. So love is meaningless to him. But emptiness, he's an expert.
So there's always a pushing away. There's always this kind of a counter dependency whenever vulnerability is there. Does that mean, is this why in the cluster B of personality disorders they're called the dramatic? Because there's always drama, there's always conflict, there's always this shove.
This has to do, but tangentially, with internally the narcissist is rigid. The identity is diffuse and so on. But there are these rigid rules. It's like an internal dictatorship. So he's trying to balance it with chaos and drama. That's another fascinating topic, because it's a great definition of mental illness. This balance between rigidity and drama and chaos. It's also relevant when we come to discuss the metaverse. So why not keep it for the social media thing?
Yeah.
But right now, I think it's crucial to understand, in order to discuss practicalities, that the narcissist needs you to become him so that he can become you. So simple as that. It's an identity swap.
Okay.
He needs you to swap identities with him. And then, of course, if he becomes you and you become a narcissist, he doesn't want to be with a narcissist.
No.
He discards you.
Yeah, you're mean now.
You're damaged.
Yeah.
Yes, you're damaged. You're broken. Now, people from the outside, when they watch this inimical, bizarre transaction, they can't interpret it the way I am. So what they see is a narcissist gets close to you, then suddenly he devalues you, suddenly he discards you. So what the hell is happening here? I mean, the guy is nuts. Why is he doing this? But this, what I'm saying, makes sense of the whole thing.
Yeah.
He needs to become one with you so that he can separate from you, so that he can begin finally to feel that he exists, that he's an individual.
Yeah.
This process is exactly idealization, evaluation, discard. And there's nothing you can do about it, because he had chosen you for this specific purpose. He had chosen to become one with you in order to discard you.
And this process can take place again and again inside of one relationship with one partner, can't it?
It can if you did not mortify the narcissist.
Okay.
So in absent mortification, yes, it can.
I think I'm just thinking of not in my own experience, clients I've spoken to where there's been some drama, then there's a breakup, then it starts again, and they say there was a love bombing phase again, then the devaluation phase again.
Yes, definitely it can be. That's why I coined the word hoovering. It's definitely, there can be. It also depends crucially how powerful the merger fusion phase had been. The more powerful the merger fusion phase, the more hope there is for separation. That's the irony.
Yeah.
A very loose merger fusion doesn't give you real separation. To experience real, powerful, cataclysmic, tectonic separation, you need to have total merger and fusion.
Yeah.
To the exclusion of the universe, just you as a single atom. And that's what the victims can't digest. They can't grasp this. They say, it's been so great, it's been wonderful, it's been an amazing relationship. I mean, all was going so well. We were the best team ever. We were like, what happened? What happened here? The intensity of the devaluation and the discard is directly proportional to the intensity of the merger fusion. Because the more the narcissist is merged and fused with you, the more intense the separation would feel, the greater his chances to individuate. You're a tool, you're medicine. He self-medicates with intimate partners. He's trying desperately to become a human being.
Yeah.
It's like Michelangelo said that when he sees a slab of marble, he already sees the sculpture inside.
Yeah.
So the narcissist is this slab of marble. There's a human being trapped inside, desperately trying to emerge. And this human being will stop at nothing in order to emerge.
So given this model, and now you've given us more precise mechanics, a more nuanced architecture for understanding not just where the narcissist is coming from, the whole dynamic of the relationship, the parts that we cannot avoid. There will be fusion, then there will be an attempt at separation, which to the target will hurt. They will experience it as betrayal. How, and you also mentioned that your mind effectively becomes colonized by the narcissist as well. It's no longer
Colonize
your
is a
mind.
great word, yeah.
It's his. Given all this,
I'm going to steal the word.
okay. It's a given. We steal each
Not
other's
give
stuff.
you, not give you credit, of course.
No credit. Just steal it, no credit.
As Grannon did not say, the mind is colonized. He didn't say it, didn't you see it? He didn't say it. Yeah. Have witnesses. Yeah.
I mean, in terms of mental health challenges, trying to help people get through, help somebody get through grief, anxiety, depression. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, I wish I hadn't picked this problem now because this is really hard. Where would you advise people begin? Where would be like ground zero for beginning to recover?
Maybe a minute before we go into practicalities.
Yeah.
The victim, no one can become a true victim of a narcissist. I mean, many people can wander into the narcissist's ambit, become part of his world, get married with a narcissist, have children with a narcissist, and then break up with a narcissist, and it would be like any other breakup. They're not, But those who are really impacted, victimized, and then re-victimized, by the way, the rate of recidivism among victims of narcissistic abuse is gigantic. Yes. I would say that 80-90% of them for sure keep getting re-victimized with additional narcissists. Yeah. Why is that? Why is this repetition compulsion? So by saying repetition compulsion, I'm stating clearly that victims of narcissistic abuse, as far clinically speaking, are indistinguishable from narcissists.
Right.
Their psychology is identical to the narcissist. The etiology is the same. Both of them grew up in dysfunctional, abusive household. Both of them were not allowed to separate and individuate. And of course, one of them chose the solution of becoming the abuser, and one of them chose the solution of appeasing the abuser.
Yes.
Catering to the abuser's needs and so on and so forth. The solutions were different, but not the personal history, not the etiology, not the psychodynamic, nothing. Everything is identical.
Yes.
It's just the solutions are different.
Yeah.
So, and the solutions, mind you, are not that important, actually, because...
Can I just pull you on that? So would you agree then that codependents also have a false self and require a kind of codependent supply, which is victimhood?
Yes, I've been saying it for well over 10 years,
I thought that was mine.
Which is
I
why,
thought that was mine.
Again, you're not stealing from me. Which is why Rosenberg and I kind of drifted apart, because he strongly denies any hint of narcissism in codependence. I think codependency is a form of narcissism. Only a form of narcissism that is non-agentic, that is in the passive. But it has all the hallmarks of narcissism. It has grandiosity, it has a false self, it has emotional dysregulation of a specific kind, it has need for supply. It has the relegation of ego functions to the outside. The narcissist relegates it to sources of supply. And so on and so forth. So they have identical etiology. Both of them grow in households that are copies of each other, clones of each other. They go through the same psychological processes as teenagers. I mean, it's totally... At some point, they choose different solutions. It's also, as Judith Herman keeps pointing out, poor woman, it's interchangeable. I mean, codependents often become narcissists, and very narcissistic to the point that they're narcissists. And narcissists have very prolonged periods of codependency.
100%.
I mean,
I've never seen one without codependency.
So for me, it's one and the same. It's a flip coin. I've been saying it for well over 10 years. It's a flip coin. And of course, what's common to both of them is complex trauma.
Yes.
That's a commonality. So before we go to the practicalities, so it's important to understand that it is not only the narcissist who wants to leverage the intimate partner and to use her to experience again a symbiotic relationship like with mommy and then separate and individuate. Wants to use his intimate partner to recreate early childhood conflicts and dynamics. That's one side of the equation. The other side of the equation, the codependent or borderline or partner, intimate partner, is doing exactly the same.
Yeah.
She wants to merge and fuse with the narcissist in order to experience the kind of separation and individuation that would leave her actually in the position of serving him. So the codependence perception, the codependence experience of separation and individuation is not so different to the narcissist.
Yeah.
The narcissist had failed in separating individuating and remained a figment of the mother, let's say, or an extension of a mother, and so did the codependent. Both of them are hoping, both of them hope in the relationship to complete the separation and individuation via each other's agency. Now, that's not my insight. That is the insight of Joan Lachkar. So both of them have the same agenda.
They're fighting for agency.
Yes.
And to individuate, which is a kind of a growing up. They're both trying to fight to find their way to some sort of adulthood.
Exactly. So that leads, of course, to parentification. They both, that's why I call it dual mothership.
Yeah.
They both fight to acquire a mother.
Yes.
The narcissist wants to acquire a mother, the codependent wants to acquire a mother.
One wants a very spoiling mother, the other one wants an abusive mother.
Sometimes, not necessarily, but they both want mothers. The only way to separate individuate is to have a mother. You can't do this any other way. So they both want a mother. And they both coerce each other into maternal roles.
Right.
And then the narcissist discards the mother, devalues the mother, and then discards the mother because the narcissist had internalized a bad object. The narcissist came to believe of himself that he is essentially bad, unworthy, and so on. Narcissism is a compensatory dynamic. So then he can separate, individuate only in a bad way, in an evil way.
Yeah.
He cannot separate, individuate in a good way because it's not good.
Yes.
It's evil.
Yeah.
He's been told since age 18 months that he's unworthy, evil, corrupt, and so on. So that's the way he acts. The codependent tries to separate, individuate from the narcissist by subsuming the narcissist.
Right.
Because there are two ways to separate individuals. Two ways. One way is to push the partner away. Push a partner away, you're left alone. By definition, if you're alone, you had separated.
Yeah.
So loneliness or aloneness is a form of separation. So if I push my partner away, I devalue her, I discard her, the minute she's out the door, I had separated.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one way. The other way is to kill the partner.
Right.
If you kill the partner, you are again alone.
Yes.
And one way to kill the partner is to subsume him, to simply dissolve him in acid, if you wish. And so he disappears and reappears inside you. That's the codependent solution, actually. The narcissist, therefore, at the beginning of the relationship, is a codependent. He subsumes the partner.
Yeah.
It's a codependent solution.
Yeah.
The narcissist goes from being codependent to being a narcissist. The codependent goes from being a narcissist to being a codependent.
Right.
In a relationship. These dynamics are politically incorrect. You can't talk about these things.
Oh, the victimhood forums will be
yes,
going.
I mean, everyone will be at your throat.
Insane over this.
Yeah. But I repeat this again because I really, really love the sound of my voice. I'll repeat this again because it's a really difficult thing to wrap your hand around. When you subsume someone, when you assimilate someone, you're actually killing them. Killing them as separate from you.
Yeah.
Because they become part of you, and so they don't exist anymore. Okay. That's a codependent solution. The codependent actually would tell you, I'm one with you. We are one.
Yes.
We are, she is like, so this is codependent solution. The narcissist solution is actually to say, no one is like me.
Yeah.
I'm superior, I'm God.
Yeah.
So away with you.
Yeah.
He pushes people away. Narcissists don't merge and fuse. Yeah. They push people away. So we can agree that if you subsume, merge, fuse, that's codependency or borderline. And if you push people away, that's narcissism. Okay? But what does the narcissist do at the beginning of a relationship? He merges with you.
Yeah.
He becomes codependent.
Yeah.
He is a codependent at the beginning. Then he becomes narcissist. He pushes you away.
Yes.
The codependent does exactly the opposite. At the beginning of the relationship, at the very beginning of the relationship, she would start with boundaries. She would start with her own space.
Yeah.
She would be maybe hypervigilant. She would be so at the beginning she's a lot more narcissistic than the narcissist. And then gradually she would become codependent. So there's a kind of a mismatch. When one is codependent, the other is narcissist, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so how to when we talk about practicalities of separation individuation, the victims must accept that the problem is dual, is both parties.
Okay, so because we are coming to the practicalities, there's a philosophical underpinning to this, which is, because I agree 100% with this perspective, speaking as a codependent, like there's narcissistic, highly manipulative, highly emotionally dysregulated things that go on here. If people can't accept that, they want to be the pure victim and the narcissist to be the pure predator, you're not going to heal.
You're not going to heal. You're not going to change and so on. And you're going to continue to be the narcissist.
Yeah.
At the end of every relationship with the narcissist, you are the narcissist. End of story. You have no mind of your own. You're colonized.
Yeah. Some people hearing that are going to hear at the end of every relationship, you're the bad guy.
Not the bad guy.
But that's not.
You don't have a mind.
What Sam said.
No, I'm not saying this.
He said you're the narcissist, and that's because used terms clinically, properly, that's your crime.
Yes, it is. I'm not the only one, mind you. And I will not go into details.
And people online, not all, but many, insist on using these terms non-clinically. And that's where a lot of the confrontation and confusion begins. I want to use this clinical term the way I want to. Well, highly narcissistic, in my view. It's actually highly narcissistic. So everything that you've said must be understood through the filter of a clinically precise application of the term.
Mind control. Mind control.
Okay.
At the end of every relationship with the narcissist, your mind is controlled.
Yes. Okay.
MK Ultra.
Yes.
Your mind is controlled.
Yeah.
It's as if someone had reached into your head and is now you're owned. You're owned.
Yes.
That's it. You're not you. There's no you anymore. You're suspended. You are clinically, emotionally, cognitively dead. You're not functioning. Anything you think, the narcissist is thinking.
So I stumbled towards this back in 2016 with clients I was working with, where I would say to them, after the narcissistic, the abusive relationship, because they'd say, why do I feel like this? Why do I feel like this? And I said, maybe you should just assume that's what they want you to feel.
Yeah.
But I was understanding it from separateness. You're saying there's no separateness. They're inside.
They're inside.
You're colonized.
Yes.
And you're feeling that because that's what the colonized part of you is insisting that you feel.
Yes. You feel that you own your thoughts, your cognitions. You feel that your emotions are yours. You feel that your moods are internally regulated. You feel good. You feel on the contrary, you just got rid of your narcissist. You're empowered. You're emancipated. That is delusion, bordering on delusional disorder. Your mind is not your own. Your thoughts are not your thoughts.
Yeah.
Your emotions are not your emotions, and your mood are totally regulated by the narcissist. But where is the narcissist? He's gone, you say. Wait a minute, he's gone. I moved to Barbados.
Yeah.
He's not gone. He's in your head.
Okay. And there should be some hope in that, because if people are recovering from narcissistic abuse and they're like, well, my personality's changed, I'm back drinking again, I'm really cranky, I'm being rude to my kids, all of you could say, okay, it will pass, but there is a process you have to go through. This isn't really you. You're not acting as you right now.
Yes. The thing is that people jump straight into the end game.
Yeah.
So techniques, this, that.
Yeah,
this is all fine and dandy once you had become again.
Yeah.
If you go straight, if you implement techniques or whatever straight away, it's the narcissist doing this.
Yeah.
Look at the mirror and you will see the narcissist face there if you're really looking. It's nightmarish. It's absolutely nightmarish. But this is what training does, even with music.
Yeah.
It's frightening, but we know that human minds synchronize. We have the famous experiment with nurses where their periods, menstruation, had synchronized within a month. All of them started to have a period at the same day. We synchronize everything. We synchronize biological processes. Definitely we synchronize mental processes. You look at a Nazi rally. This is not 100,000 individuals.
Yeah.
That's a single individual with 100,000 heads.
Yeah.
So the narcissist had colonized you. I like the phrase a lot. Had colonized you, and now you need to separate individuate. Before you do this, nothing will happen. To separate individuate, you need first of all to accept.
Yeah.
The greatest hurdle and obstacle is to accept that you're not you anymore.
Yeah.
Why? Do you remember when we were much younger and started this conversation? We were discussing separation, individuation, and I said for the child to take on the world, there is a spurt of grandiosity, an explosion of grandiosity.
Yes.
This is what happens to the victim when they break up with a narcissist. They become grandiose.
Yeah.
They feel empowered. They feel emancipated. They feel,
Yeah.
they're grandiose.
Yeah.
And if you come and tell them, listen, you've done nothing. You've done nothing yet.
Yeah.
They will vehemently reject this.
Yes.
They will say, not true. I was strong. I was in control. I dumped the narcissist. I broke up with him. I'm in charge. I'm strong again. I know myself.
I've been listening to that story for 9 years.
Yes.
Again and again.
One of the most common refrains is, I know myself much better now.
Yeah.
I know myself much better now. And so on. These are grandiose defenses.
Right.
And this is proof positive that what I'm saying is true, because there would have been no need for grandiose defenses
Yes.
if there wasn't something to defend against.
Right.
What is it that you're defending against when you're grandiose?
Yeah.
The fact that you had been compromised.
Right.
Think of yourself as an information technology system, a computer. You had been compromised. There's malware working in your mind, having taken over the root system and so on. You think you have your own operating system. You don't. So the first thing the victim needs to do is to acquire humility.
Yeah.
Humility.
Yeah.
And to accept that there's a long way to go, and that breaking up with a narcissist physically and even emotionally is an important first step, but it's only a first step, and it's something like 10% of the process, not 90.
I've had to do this twice, and all I would say at this point is, if you can be humble, and you can just inject more humility into the whole process, it goes much faster.
Yes.
If you keep up with this, I've learned so much, and I'm a stronger person for it. Bullshit routine just takes longer.
Yes, it's resistance.
It's resistance.
Clinically, it's resistance.
Yeah.
It's refusal to acknowledge reality is resistance. You know?
Yeah.
So when you tell the victim, listen, you're still very weak. You're still under control. His voice inside your head still determines 99% of your existence, your decisions, your thoughts, your emotions. He is in charge.
Yeah.
He is stronger than you. Victims will not accept this because it challenges their newfound sense of empowerment and freedom and so on. But these are delusional. These are illusory.
When you say delusional and grandiose in this context, are they effectively narcissistic defenses at that point?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
The attack is narcissistic, and so the defenses are narcissistic.
Right.
So the first step is humility and acceptance. Then the second step is, I think, to begin to separate the narcissist voice from what remains of your voices.
Yeah.
Because your voices have been suppressed and silenced for a long period of time. And it's difficult to recover them. But you need to begin to make this distinction. There's an easy way to do this, luckily. Do you remember I said that your introject in the narcissist's mind is silent, because the narcissist superimposes on your introject his own internal monologue.
Yeah.
In other words, he wants you to say what he wants you to say.
Yes.
If I want you to have an opinion, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
This kind of thing.
Yeah.
So this is your introject in the narcissist's mind. The narcissist's introject in your mind is exactly the opposite. Never stops talking.
Right.
Vociferous, decisive, judgmental, opinionated, analytical, critical, and so on and so forth. You would do well to assume that all the functions that used to belong to your inner critic are now compromised, and they're not you. Simply not you. I would say all. Almost no exception. I think all. All would be accurate.
this is going to be very, very, very difficult for people to take on and to digest. I can imagine the responses now. But I think that's a very, very useful framing. Like, you should just, even if you can just accept it philosophically for a moment, what if my introjects were 99%, the functions of the inner critic are now 99% from the narcissist? Because I recognize that. You become vociferous, you become analytical, you become, that people call it assertive. They're actually being quite bullying and obnoxious. It's almost a necessary phase in the healing process, I suppose.
You need to accept that you're a puppet.
Yeah.
You need to accept that you have no agency, no self-efficacy, no autonomy, no independence anymore. You had been invaded.
Yeah.
You had been taken over. So you need to accept this, because everything in you screams the opposite.
Yeah.
I just got rid of the MF, you know. I showed him what is, you know. I dumped his ass. You feel like the narcissist.
Narcissistic elation.
Who is this who is saying all these things?
Right.
It's a narcissist.
Yeah.
I dumped my narcissistic abuser. I dumped my narcissist. I showed him who is boss.
Yeah.
That's a narcissist speaking.
Right.
This is how the narcissist would have framed it.
Yeah.
So to accept that you had been taken over, hijacked, and to have the humility to realize that you are not agentic, you have zero agency, that's extremely difficult. That's the first phase. And then it's easy to identify the narcissist's voice, as I said. A safe assumption is that your inner critic is a narcissist, is the narcissist.
Okay.
It's a safe assumption. It's also a rule of thumb. It's like a shortcut.
Okay.
And then you need to rewrite the script. Now you remember that previously I compared it to a theater production. So there you have your introject in the narcissist's mind, which is silent. His introject in your mind, which never ceases to criticize you and humiliate you and so on and so forth. You need to reverse the roles. You need to silence the narcissist introject and to let your voice speak. And if your voice cannot speak because it's been disabled for too long, you need to impose on your voice, superimpose on your voice, a monologue of any kind, internal monologue of any kind, the same way the narcissist did to you in his mind. In other words, you are using the narcissist, it's like in martial arts, we're using the opponent's momentum.
Their momentum against
them. Yeah. So you're doing exactly the same. The narcissist silenced your introject and rendered his introject, the dominant introject.
Yeah.
You're reversing this. You're silencing his introject and rendering your introject dominant, but you're using exactly the same techniques. You're superimposing a monologue on your introject.
Yes.
Because to start with, your introject is very weakened. Your real voice, your voice. Let's call it your voice, narcissist voice. So the narcissist voice in your mind is talkative and critical, and you silence it. You simply silence it. And your voice is silent, so you superimpose on it a dialogue the same way the narcissist had superimposed a monologue, on you.
So when you say use the narcissist techniques against him, this is the superimposition of a dialogue.
Yes. You identify two voices, listen. One of them is silent because the narcissist silenced it. One of them is silent, doesn't talk. The other one talks all the time. And that other one which talks all the time, this second voice, is against you, is your enemy. It's persecutory. Tells you you're zero, you're bad, you're stupid, That voice is your new inner critic. That's the narcissist voice. You need to silence this voice.
Is it just an inner critic, or is it also outer critic as well? Because I think I've noticed people just generally becoming more confrontational, judgmental. They condemn people. Normally they're super cool, hippie types.
That would be the narcissist in control. It's a puppet.
Yeah.
So narcissist simply uses the puppet
to
do narcissistic things, like humiliate people, confront people.
So humiliate me, humiliate others.
But people say, wait a minute, what are you talking about? He's gone. He's like gone.
Yeah.
He lives in another country.
Yeah.
How can he make me be confrontational or uncivil or humiliate people? Or how can he make me act as a narcissist if he's no longer in my life?
Yeah.
He is in your life.
Yeah.
He's in your head where it matters.
Yes.
And he keeps pulling your strings and he keeps doing his thing.
Yeah.
That's his thing. Being a narcissist is the narcissist thing. That's what narcissists do. They're narcissists.
Yeah.
And you are a mere puppet. It's so difficult for people to accept this. So difficult to accept this.
Yeah, because it's offensive to the ego under any circumstances.
No.
When I mildly even suggest to people they may have a pre-existing condition that might be called codependency that led them to be more likely to be in narcissistic relationships, some people hate it. They react emotionally violently towards it.
Yeah, that's
They really hate the idea there's something wrong with them.
We are both accused of victim blaming and victim shaming. And so, and I think we are doing the greatest possible service. Self-awareness, realizing your own contribution to the situation, and avoiding this in the future. It's the greatest service.
I 100% agree. I don't want to sidetrack the discussion, but I think we've got to the point now with certain elements of psychotherapy, but definitely the YouTube, Instagram community, where if you aren't absolutely fawning and 100% boundaryless supportive to all victims at all times, it's victim blaming.
Identity politics.
It is effectively identity politics now, isn't it? Yeah.
Victimhood movements are the core of identity politics.
Yes.
So this is another victimhood movement. Victims of narcissistic abuse. Everyone is a victim, was a victim, or will be a victim. And his dog, of course. I forgot his dog. There's a sociologist, his name is Campbell, and he said that the vast majority of human history had been spent with a focus on dignity and reputation.
Right.
He said all human societies, all human cultures have been focused on dignity and reputation. He said, in the past 30 or 40 years, we have undergone a transformation from dignity and reputation to victimhood.
Yeah.
So he says people sacrifice dignity and reputation
just
to be able to claim a victimhood status.
Yeah, just to get that slice of the delicious victimhood pie.
Yes.
And it's actually, I would even say, it's one of the major barriers to healing because, well, if you heal, you're no longer a victim.
But here's an interesting twist. Because ostensibly what I'm saying is, I'm telling you, you are the ultimate victim. Your mind is gone.
Yes.
Mind is gone. I mean, you're like...
No agency.
No agency, no responsibility.
No responsibility.
You're really, it's the narcissist just uses your body.
Yes.
Animates your body.
Pure victimhood.
Yes. So ostensibly everyone should happily embrace this.
Right.
But it's not pure victimhood. It's victimhood coupled with grandiosity.
Yeah.
The victimhood became the locus of grandiosity. I am special and unique and amazing and superior because I'm a victim. And so if I'm a victim despite myself, it's like victimhood is a choice. If I'm a victim despite myself, then I'm not superior, not amazing, I'm just a plaything.
Right.
I'm just a plaything.
Yeah.
I'm just an object, inert object.
Yeah.
But somehow they imply, these grandiose victims, they imply an element of choice. Like, I've been victimized, but now I'm taking my victimhood and I'm going to leverage it to become more, something more.
Yeah.
I'm going to educate. I'm going to I'm going to become special.
Right.
But they don't realize this is the voice of the narcissist.
Right.
It's the narcissist who is saying this, speaking through the mouth.
Yes. Yeah.
It's absolutely like the horror movies. It's like there's an entity inside you that had taken over you. And he's saying these things, and you are not even aware what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're not aware that you had become exceedingly grandiose.
Yes.
Disempathy. I have never seen less empathy than in the forums of empaths. Less. I've never.
It's a way of identifying an empath, isn't it? Are they bullying? Do they cut you off?
Yes.
Do they silence you?
Utterly toxic.
Utterly toxic. That's how you notice an empath.
Yes. It's a great
massive lack of empathy.
Operational way of distinguishing an empath. I think forums of psychopaths are more compassionate than forums of empaths. More, considerate, and affectionate.
Yeah, space to listen to
it's
others'
like,
opinions.
Richard, you're my friend, I'll kill you for nothing.
Yeah.
You won't charge you.
That's true empathy. No, I see how the... So, I mean, well, we've discussed this many times over the years. You can't divide the individual problems from the culture in which they take place. And psychology keeps pretending you can. Yeah. And then you cited a sociologist. I mean, of course, because we need the sociologist to explain.
We need many things. We need anthropology because we're all tribes.
Right.
It's tribal elements.
100%.
We need many, many things.
100%.
And we don't have this interdisciplinarity.
No.
Everyone is very protective of their own. It's again narcissism.
Yeah.
It's narcissism again. The grandiosity. My discipline is why I need this. These disciplines are not serious. My discipline is, and so on. But coming back to practicalities, which is, I suspect, what people are looking for. So the first step is humility and acceptance.
Yes.
The second step is identifying the active voice and the passive voice.
Okay.
Never mind the content. If it's an active voice, it's a narcissist, for sure. Don't bother. I mean, don't be super analytical.
Yeah.
If there's a voice that talks to you all the time, that's the narcissist in your head. Narcissist is in your head, in abode. The flag is flying. He is in residence, you know. If a voice is active, it's a narcissist. If there's a voice that is passive or silent, that's you. That's actually you. You need to reverse the roles. You need to silence the active voice. Now, sometimes the active voice is very seductive, like the serpent in the Garden of Eden, or like some Vaknin in some of his better videos. So it's a very seductive voice. And you would be tempted to not silence that voice because it compliments you, for example, or it aggrandizes you, or it gives you good advice, or it acts friendly, or you'd be extremely tempted not to silence it. Silence it. Silence it. That's the serpent. I'm using now religious metaphors. That's the serpent in your Garden of Eden. Silence that serpent before he gives you an apple, or whatever it was that he gave. So silence the active voice. How do you silence an active voice? We'll come in a minute. And then the silent voice, the voice that is passive, the voice that is just there, background voice that says nothing, ever. That's who you used to be. That's who you used to be before the narcissist had invaded, intruded, and took over. So now you need to reactivate this voice. First of all, the minute you silence the active voice, you will suddenly hear that the passive voice is whispering, is susurrating. There's always something in the air. But initially, you would need to encourage the passive voice to revive somehow, which is a good definition of separation individuation. You need to encourage it to revive somehow. So one of the ways to do that is simply take monologues from your past. Things that you used to tell yourself in the past, memories of things, memories of cognitions, memories of emotion, and just take these things, appropriate or not appropriate, and superimpose them on the passive voice.
Okay.
Attribute it to the passive voice.
Yeah.
Just attribute it. Even if it feels alien and awkward and wrong and inappropriate for the circumstances, and just do it.
Yeah.
Because you need the passive voice to say something.
It's like physiotherapy. You have some sort of support to get it moving again.
Yeah. Some of the moves in psychotherapy are stupid. I mean, like walk there, walk back, and what the fuck? I don't want to walk. What's there? I mean, you have to do it. The muscle is atrophied.
Yeah.
You have to exercise the muscle.
Right.
So you remember that before you had met the narcissist, you used to tell yourself, I like ginger tea a lot. Take this stupid sentence and superimpose it on the passive voice.
Okay.
Let the passive voice say now, I love ginger tea a lot. Even though there's no ginger tea and no occasion for ginger tea, let it speak. Let it move its atrophied muscles. You have thousands of such memories. I love Dostoevsky. I remember my trip to Italy. I take all these memories, all these cognitions, all these emotions, make inventories if you have to, write them down if you have to, journal. Jordan Peterson. Journal. Take all this and reactivate the passive voice. Train it. You have been entrained, detrained. Train it. And now, throughout this process, the active voice will try to take over, will try to again silence the passive. Yes. Don't let it. How do you silence the active voice? You simply don't listen to it. The active voice will always be actionable. In other words, the active voice is a narcissist. It wants you to do something. 99% of the time, the active voice will say one of two things. It will evaluate you negatively, one way or another, that's inner critic function, or it will ask you to do something, or to behave in a certain way. So it's easy. The active voice will evaluate you negatively, ignore him, and it tells you to do something, don't do it. Gradually, it will weaken. Its impact will weaken. As the passive voice is strengthened, the active voice will weaken. And ultimately, if all goes well, may take a while, You will have only your voice resuscitated and revived, which clinically is separation individuation.
Okay.
Clinically. In a nutshell, it requires a lot more detail and so on, but in a nutshell,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work. And I do recommend to write it down. I'm kidding you not. Or to record yourself, or to somehow document the process, so that you have constant feedback. It's a wily enemy inside your head.
Yes.
It shapeshifts.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It's like the witches, the famous 17th century witch trials. If you want to use religious, it's demonic. If you want, it shapeshifts. It's unrecognizable sometimes. It masquerades as you or people you love. It's not easy. You need to pin it down.
Then I wonder if it would be useful to say, you can also tell it's the active narcissistic voice, because it always leads back to the same conclusion, and all roads lead to Rome with it. It's always coming back to its own narcissistic agenda, and it never deviates.
Yes.
So that's another way of recognizing the voice. There's no deviation from this agenda.
Yes, it's likely to advocate the same behaviors and actions.
Yeah.
It's likely to criticize you in the same ways. Harp.
Yeah.
Find a vulnerability and sort of again and again.
This is you're doing this now because of the thing you do. That's just like your mother.
You know you're not very clever. You know you're not very clever. You know you're not very clever. He's not likely to say you're not. You know you're not a good athlete.
Yeah.
That's not the point. That's not your vulnerability.
No.
You never thought of yourself as a good athlete.
No.
But you did think of yourself as smart and clever. So he's gonna hammer on this.
Yeah.
He's gonna
with no assistance. It's not like, so go read a book or get tutoring. It's just, you're dumb. The end.
You're dumb.
Yeah.
You're dumb.
It devalues.
You're dumb. Don't trust yourself.
Right.
You're dumb. Don't trust yourself.
Right.
You know, be more careful. You know you're stupid. You know you're doing stupid things. You know you're making stupid choices, stupid decisions, and so on. So don't trust yourself. Implicitly it says trust me, of course.
That's the implicit agenda. Yeah. Don't trust yourself.
Trust me.
Listen to me.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Yeah.
You know, she's exploiting you. She's very exploitative. You should show her.
Yeah.
You should have boundaries.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the active voice in your head, which is the narcissist, is going to use all the right language. He's going to say boundaries. He's going to say healing.
Yeah.
He's going to say recovery.
Oh.
So he's going to tell you, for example, your boss,
Yeah.
she's exploiting you. She's abusing you. You need to have clear boundaries.
You
need to go and tell her to fuck off.
Yeah.
You know?
Your inner critic is trauma-informed, using the psychotherapeutic language to a T. Yeah.
It will co-opt anything.
Yeah.
It will feed off anything you learn, anything you think. That's why I keep telling you. All the techniques and the exercises, they're immediately hijacked by the narcissist.
Yeah.
You're feeding the narcissist.
Yes.
If you hadn't separated, individuated before starting any work in therapy and so on, the narcissist would regard the therapy as added weaponry.
Yeah.
He's going to use it against you.
Yes.
So if you went to therapy and the therapist taught you to have better boundaries, next thing you know, the narcissist will take this insight and will render you aggressive.
Yeah.
And conflictive and violent.
So you lose all your friends,
Yes.
you're isolated,
Yes.
and you're now vulnerable to the next narcissistic relationship.
So that's
that comes
boundaries.
along.
Or if, for example, inner child,
Yes.
you do inner child work.
Yeah.
So the narcissist will infantilize you. He will use the inner child, he will leverage the inner child techniques and so on to infantilize you.
Yeah.
Everything you learn can and will be used against you by this internal voice if you don't first silence it for good.
Yes. I think that's a really, really good rule to remember. Like, it's so evil that it's comical, but please take it seriously, because everything you take on can and will be used against you at a later date.
Yeah. And it's easy. Essentially, it's an easy thing. You know, I mean, I'm sure you can design a course or something.
I'm doing it in my head.
No, seriously, I'm not kidding now. And it would be beneficial. You have my blessing. I mean,
Thank you.
It needs to be done. It's an easy thing because there's always one very exclusively active voice. It monopolizes. There's no other. There's only it's all over.
Yeah.
There's only one voice, one passive voice. The passive voice is who you used to be.
Yes.
It's you.
Yes.
It's you. You're hibernating. It's a hibernated voice. And there's the active voice. That's not you. Even if it sounds like you, even if you love this voice because it's your best friend, even if it looks after your interest, even if it empowers you and emancipates you and I don't know what you, it's not you. It's a narcissist masquerading.
Yes.
He's wily, he's shape-shifting, he's camouflaging himself.
Yeah.
He's going to use everything you learn, everything you read, every technique you use, he's going to use it against you.
Yeah.
He's going to sound very, very collegiate and very, very supportive and very in the process. So you would feel that you're losing an excellent, good friend.
Yeah.
There's an emotional price for this process, because as you transition from the active voice to the passive voice, you will feel very, very alone.
Yeah.
Very alone.
Yeah.
The narcissist isolates people, isolates his victims from their support network, social network, family, friends, you name it. And then it becomes their world. And so getting rid of a narcissist means getting rid of the world. And there's a huge sense of existential loneliness in the transition from the active to the passive voice. That's why I think it needs to be done in therapy. But it needs to be done. By the way, all these insights are not particularly original, I must admit. You have these insights in, for example, Gestalt therapy. You have it even in transactional therapy. You have it in family system therapy.
I hear you, but I think you're doing what I do a lot of the time, which is to say, well, because it's not absolutely original. You know, I've heard myself say that, but if nobody else is putting the syntax like this, and nobody is, this specific syntax and the specific emphasis, it may as well not exist.
Yeah, always. We always stand on the shoulders of giants.
Always.
We stand on the shoulders of giants. But credit where it's due.
Yeah.
The first school of thought
Yeah.
to have identified these voices and their roles
Yeah.
was internal family system. In internal family system, there are 3 types of voices, and these voices interact all the time and so on, and some of them are dysfunctional and very dangerous voices.
Is that the same as parts therapy? Is it the same?
Yes. Parts
okay.
therapy is kind of an extension of internal family system. Similarly, in transactional, you're going to... in Gestalt, they have the tapes. You have tapes.
Yeah.
So this is not a new insight, that you have these voices, and some of them are detrimental,
Sure.
and deleterious, and you should get rid of them.
Sure.
You know? What is CBT? CBT is about this.
Yeah.
You have ants, you have automatic negative thoughts.
Yes.
These are voices.
Yeah.
These are voices. I'm ugly. No woman would date me.
Yes.
Well, that happens to be a realistic and a realistic negative. But you know, it's a voice that tells you you're ugly. No woman would date you. Don't even try. Don't even try. I mean, I'm your friend. I don't want you to get hurt.
Yeah.
I don't want you to get hurt. Don't try. So here's an example, by the way. You know, the person can say, "Wow, I have a good internal friend. He's advising me to not try to date girls because I will be hurt. I'll be rejected. It must be my good friend. Must be my." It's not a friend. It's an enemy. You know? The narcissist is your enemy. Never mistake him for a friend. Never mind what he says. In Islam, and to a lesser extent in Christianity, there is this realization that Satan can mislead you with a slick tongue, with a smooth.
I was going to raise Islam. Isn't it called the wasa wasa? The little voice, wasa 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 wasa.
Yes.
In your ear. Yeah, with the way you were describing it before in the Garden of Eden, I was thinking this is Islam. These are the Islamic teachings.
Look at the serpent in the Garden of Eden. I mean, we haven't frustrated the viewers enough, so
No,
we're going to talk about.
we must try harder.
Yeah, well, I'm doing my best, Richard. You're sneezing, coughing. I'm trying
Turn
to
the wheel of the
holding,
rack
I'm holding
harder,
it with my
Sam.
shoulders. Yeah. So, Garden of Eden, for example. Let's look at the text. The serpent. Serpent, in many, many traditions, is considered an embodiment of the devil. It was the devil. Yeah. And so, let's look at what the serpent had said. The text. It's a wonderful text. You know, you need to learn new things. He said to Eve, you need to learn new things. Knowledge is power. You need to educate yourself. You need to improve. You need to expand your horizons. What every modern educator is telling today to children.
Yeah.
All modern educators, by this standard, are serpents. Seriously, that's all he said. The only thing which is a bit jarring, a bit like out of sync, exposing his narcissistic nature, is that you're going to be like God.
Right.
You're going to be like God.
Yeah.
If you take that bit away,
Yeah.
the rest is the classic mission statement of educators in the last 300 years.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to expand your horizon, we're going to teach you. That's all the serpent said. So if you were to listen to this voice of the serpent, you would have said, wow, it's a great friend. He wants me to learn. He wants me to educate myself. He wants me. But look at the result. You know?
Yeah.
So you need to isolate the serpent in your head from God's voice.
Yes.
What is God's voice, by the way? In the vast majority of Scripture, God's voice is silence. Silence. When Elijah, the prophet, was taken from us, he had a kind of interjection with God. He said, I'm looking for God. Is it the rock? No, it's not God. Is it the ocean? No, it's not God. And then God got pissed off because Elijah got it wrong so many times. And he said, I am the silence. God, the voice of God is silent. That is you. God is you. You're authentic, to use Jean-Paul Sartre. Your authenticity, your authentic voice is silent. Silent. The voice that talks all the time and makes suggestions and masquerades and improves you, and that's not you. That could be society. Society has a voice like this, which tells you if you do this, if you work hard, you will make money. If you make money, you will have a beautiful house, you'll be happy. If you consume goods, you know,
everything will be okay.
Okay, that's Althusser called it interpellation. You know, society interpellates you. It has a voice, interpellative voice in your head. And so that's also not you. Any voice that speaks is usually not you. And if you had been exposed to a narcissist, he first of all eliminates all the other voices, monopolizes the space. And then the voice that speaks inside you, after you had left the narcissist physically, is the narcissist. You must get rid of this voice. It's the serpent.
Yeah.
You must listen to the voice of God. The voice of God is silent. But of course, given the right incentives, God also speaks to humanity. You know, I'm not a religious person, let it be clear. But the metaphors are nice.
Yeah, they're great metaphors.
I think the metaphors are nice.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic.
So God is silent most of the time, but when push comes to shove and he has a clear message and so on, he speaks. Listen to that voice. And the other voice never stops speaking and masquerades as your friend.
Now that you're here and it would be socially awkward for you to just get up and leave, I can get some free therapy. Last year,
Get me a cab to Skopje and I'm yours for hours. For hours.
Easily, please, just a cab to Skopje. I broke up with a girl last year, and then for the months that followed the breakup, I completely isolated myself and spent time alone. In my mind, I said, I'm writing my book, I'm finishing my book, and this is what I need to do. And that isolation drove me completely insane. I kept myself completely cut off. I lived in Ibiza where there's loads of parties and people, cut off. For 3 or 4 months, got back into the relationship. It was an unmitigated disaster. And in all the therapy I did after that, and I did a lot, we never found out why I isolated myself. But this could be the reason, is because that was her voice in my head as my fake friend saying, you need to do your book, do your work, go and be isolated until you go crazy. Yeah.
Every single thing you do, and I mean everything, you drink tea rather than coffee, every single thing you do, until you had eradicated the active voice, is not you. It's shocking, it's terrifying, it's like alien abduction, it's a horror movie. It happens to be the truth. Every single decision you make, having with a voice still active in your head, it's not you. So there was a voice telling you, I think it would be beneficial for you to isolate now because you need time to recover and heal and process and so on. That was not you. That was not you. That was the serpent.
And this voice, it would guide you back possibly to the relationship with the original narcissist, but also possibly to another narcissistic abuser.
Narcissists are like Hydra, multi-headed single entity in a way. That's why they're clones. That's why you know one narcissist, you know them all.
Yeah.
And they kind of watch each other's back. It's a colony. It's a massive colony, you know, like ant colony. You know? And no one knows exactly how ants communicate, or bees. I mean, we know bees dance and so on, but we don't really understand how because whole colonies sometimes relocate, and you know, and we don't know how the hell this is done. It's amazing. You know? I would say that narcissists have more or less this globe-spanning resonance. So a narcissist wouldn't mind if you end up with another narcissist. It's okay. It's the same. It's
still me.
We're clones. It's still me. We're clones.
My left hand is consuming me,
Yes,
not my right
clones.
hand. Yeah.
Yes. We're clones. Think of it as a clone, as clones. So as long as you end up with a narcissist, it's okay. But the aim is not even that. The aim is to destroy you. There is not possible, there's no real, total separation individuation until you're dead. If you're dead, my separation individuation had been completed successfully.
You can take that off. You can
Yes, I mean, the aim of the narcissist in any intimate relationship is to go through the maternal phase, to merge and fuse with the mother, then to separate and individuate. The separation is where the narcissist fails. So he tries to devalue you, he tries to discard you. But regrettably, even after he discards you, you're still alive. So it's a problem. The separation is not completed. But if he succeeds to destroy you mentally, let alone physically, the separation is mission accomplished. This is total separation. Now, it does not lead to individuation, because the narcissist doesn't have the skills for that. But at least he experiences vicariously separation, individuation.
Right.
That's why when you talk to narcissists, for example, widows, I'm kidding you not, they're relieved. That when the partner dies physically, there's an enormous sense of elation and relief, even if they have claimed to have loved the partner.
Yeah.
This elation and relief and jubilation and celebration is the faint scent of existence, the existence thrice removed. When the partner dies, the narcissist finally is separate for a day or two or three or a month. And this is as close as he's ever going to get to really existing. By the way, identical thing happens in mortification.
I actually witnessed that at close quarters. A youngish girl, she was 32, 33, and her husband was young and he died young. And then at the funeral, she was manically euphoric.
Yes.
Embarrassingly, like.
Exactly. We call it inappropriate affect.
Right.
Yes. Narcissists have inappropriate, psychopaths even also. Narcissists have inappropriate affect in such occasions. But people think it's inappropriate. For narcissists, it's very appropriate.
Yeah.
Euphoric is the word. If I am with an intimate partner, I have merged and fused with her, then I start to separate from her. I start to separate from her by becoming her inner critic. Now you can put all the pieces together.
Yeah.
I become her inner critic. I supplant her inner critic, and so I criticize her, analyze her, castigate and chastise, and so this is my way of pushing her away. So I merge and fuse, then I begin to cut her off. I cut her off partly by becoming her inner critic. Then I discard her. It doesn't do the trick fully. I feel separated, but definitely it's adulterated. I need a much higher grade of heroin. If she dies, or attempts suicide, or goes crazy, or is totally broken, like totally, the separation is much stronger. The drug is much more potent. And I vicariously experience separation, and this is as close as I can ever get to feeling that I exist.
So in the other relationship I was in, towards the end, I was convinced that she was trying to make it as painful for me as possible. Even there were signs there that I thought she was trying to drive me to suicide.
Yeah, possible.
And this was, she's going for that moment, that burst, even if it's only
the suicide part. The suicide part is a double whammy. Double yummy. I'm sorry. Double yummy because it's her omnipotence. She has the power to cause you to commit suicide. But I think even more importantly, your attempt to take your own life is separation. At that moment, she feels alive. Think about it. It's equivalent of self-mutilation in borderline. The borderlines cut or burn themselves for two reasons. they quell, they suppress internal turmoil and pain and I don't know what. But all of them report that when they cut or burn, they feel alive. They feel that they come alive. They feel that they exist. For a split second, they feel that they exist.
Yeah.
Same with the narcissist. She self-harms or she mutilates by killing you. You are her. You are an extension.
Yeah.
You're not separate from her.
Yeah.
She is you. You're merged. You're a single unit.
Yeah.
So by amputating you, which is pain,
Yes.
it's like burning.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
she is actually self-harming with you. By killing you, she's killing a part of herself.
Yeah.
That is self-mutilation.
Yes.
And has the same functions, exactly.
Yes.
It reduces inferiority, so it increases grandiosity, and at the same time makes her feel alive. Exactly same function. Your problem is this.
My singular problem.
Well, no, your problem in this context is
Yes,
this,
yeah.
and it's understandable. Automatically, you keep thinking of yourself as separate.
Yeah.
You say, she is trying to cause me to commit suicide.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
she's trying to cause a part of herself to commit suicide.
Yeah.
That's the correct picture.
It's a much better filter to look at everything.
Yeah.
Because if you use the wrong, as with anything, if you use the wrong map, it's completely confusing. But
Yes.
this is the correct map.
She is trying to self-mutilate or self-harm by harming that part of her that looks like Richard Grannon.
Yes.
It's a part of her. So she's harming it or mutilating it. And that moment, exactly like a borderline, she feels alive, her anxiety is reduced, her inferiority is reduced, and her grandiosity increases. Exactly same functions, exactly. So harming the partner is the ultimate in terms of experiencing separateness and existence. The ultimate. There's a compulsion to harm the partner.
Yeah.
Compulsion. Now, discard is a mild form of harming. It's harm. It's also harming. But some narcissists are so dead, because there are gradations even there. Some narcissists are so dead that they would definitely seek to harm, to
Physically.
or drive into suicide.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. So there are these two voices. It's extremely simple. There are two voices. Identify the one talking, silence it. Identify the one silent, make it talk.
Yeah.
Impose on it your memories, your thoughts from the past.
Bring yourself back somehow. Yeah.
From the past. Just borrow things from the past and superimpose them on the silent voice, regardless of how irrelevant they sound or look. Make it come alive again. And then, hopefully, at some point, the active voice will no longer be active. At that point, you will have become again. You will have separated and individuated, and you can proceed now. Anything you do before that can and will be used against you by the narcissist voice in your head. That's the enormous danger in premature therapy.
Yes. I noticed when I was at first looking at this about 7-8 years ago, the inner critic concept and the voice inside the negative introject. And I was like, what's the agenda of the voice? And it was always destruction. It wants to destroy me completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I'd had that from my whole life, is that because that's come from a parent or parents?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably, yeah.
Probably.
The first negative introjects are usually parental.
Yeah.
Maternal in the vast majority of cases, but paternal could be. Depending, a father could fulfill mother roles. Mother is not a biological thing, it's a function.
In my last relationship, she absolutely used me as a mother.
Mother.
Absolutely, I was made mother. I had no choice. I didn't consent to this. I didn't want to be anybody's mummy. But then when I met her mother, I was like, oh, I can see why she chose me for this
Well, you
role.
could have been a good Bulgarian mother. They have mustaches.
Okay,
This
well.
we need to cut off. we have a few Bulgarian viewers.
I'm glad you said Bulgarian, not Bosnian. I'd get into even more trouble.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Vaknin, thank you so much for the insight and for the help. I'm going to put this out and we'll both be vilified and denounced as victim blamers. Are you ready for that?
Yes. I hope that'll be the outcome. What do you mean?
People can find you over on your channel, which is Sam Vaknin on YouTube. And I hope that people follow the links below, watch Sam's videos that are the precursor to this, so you know to a more nuanced degree exactly what we were talking about in the beginning. So thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I know it's not easy. And I sound suspiciously like the voice in your head, but
Yeah, exactly
by
like the voice.
accident. It's by accident.
Ladies and gents, thank you so much for your time and for your attention, and we look forward to speaking to you soon. Thank you.